And I don't think I can replicate that, but I hope the mood is the same. So we will try and make it as informal, but of course hope to have a very intensive discussion because we have experts in the area, and I'm sure that all of us are interested in this topic of access and justice in education here in JNU. So I want to begin by welcoming all of you to the third day of the JNUTA festival, MOSAIC JNU JNUTA JNU. And I think all of you will agree that it has been a roaring success. And on behalf of the TA, I would also once again want to thank you all for making it such a big success. And we have had some brilliant sessions, and we had the opportunity to hear and interact with some of the most illustrious teachers and academics that the JNU community has been fortunate to have, both in the past and in the present. And today, too, we have a panel of experts who are no less exceptional in their respective fields, who will talk about an important hallmark of JNU, which has been its experiments to make education accessible to all sections of society. At the Adda yesterday, we heard that JNU was envisioned to be a special kind of university. As an aside, I would also encourage all of you to go through the pages of a very interesting book that came out a few years ago that was edited by my colleagues at CHS, called JNU Stories, the first 50 years, to understand the edifice on which this university has been built and to take pride in its heritage as well as to be contributors to that heritage. It is truly enlightening to know the dreams on which this university was built, some of the experiments that were carried out, and the cutting-edge research and academic innovations and practices this university has been able to bring about. So for those of you who are new, please do get hold of the book and read it. You don't have to buy it. E-versions of it abound, and we in JNU know which sites we are referring to. I just want to hark back to one point that was mentioned yesterday that is pertinent for our discussion today. As we heard, there were discussions for 2 days in Parliament in December 1965. I must also remind you that this was after Nehru's death, because Nehru was clear nothing must be named after a living person. He was clear he did not want a university in his name. So there were 2 days of discussion in the Parliament in 1965 regarding the setting up of this university. And it was clear from the very start that the university had to be of an entirely new type. These were the words that were used. And the new institution, it was felt, had to represent the principles that infused Nehru's life, which were secularism and cosmopolitanism, social justice and scientific temper, as well as his interest in international affairs and his commitment to world peace. So the discussions in Parliament veered on how this institution of an entirely new type was to be conceived. The elements that came to define this uniqueness through discussion in Parliament came to be identified as: 1, the idea of criticality through dialogue and debate. These were mentioned yesterday. Secularism, inclusivity, interdisciplinarity, autonomy, and finally love and trust. Most of these points were mentioned yesterday, but today we will be focusing more on the idea of inclusivity. So from the very beginning, this idea of inclusive academy of higher research in terms of social, the idea of an exclusive academy of higher research in terms of social composition, that is an exclusive academy, this was abandoned, and the university was not meant to be a provincial one. It was to actively engage in bringing in students, exceptional students, that is, from all over the country, that encompassed the diversity that was India. So let me briefly quote from JNU's stories. The first schedule of the bill stated that the university had to take special measures to facilitate students and teachers from all over India to join the university and participate in its academic programs. Meeting fellow students from different parts of India would itself be a learning experience, an encounter that would help students understand the meaning of cultural diversity and create the basis of a truly composite culture. The university, moreover, could not become the preserve of the rich. While aspiring for excellence, it had to be committed to social justice, close quote. So inclusivity being one of the main elements of JNU's founding principles or vision, we have three extremely qualified members of the faculty to discuss how JNU has fared on this principle of inclusivity. Of course, Sachi has just recently retired, but once a JNUite, always a JNUite. So we are very happy to have three members of panel members. Unfortunately, one of them, Professor Sonajharia Minz, is going to join us late. She should be here in about another half an hour or so. And so when she arrives, she will join us in the discussion. But I guess I will introduce all three panelists and then ask them to give their comments on some questions that we have sort of thought about. So Professor Sachidananda Sinha retired from JNU after serving the university for 34 years as a highly sought-after teacher and playing a vital role in shaping the university's academic orientation and social composition. A social geographer keenly invested in issues of education, Professor Sinha's research and teaching has spanned issues of health, educational development, and development concerns for the socially and economically marginalized communities. He played a crucial role in developing and implementing the deprivation point system that has been central to JNU's distinctive response to questions of access and justice in the field of public higher education. It is also great to welcome Sachi to this event organized by the TA, which he has led as president and has participated in actively over decades. The next member is Professor Sonajharia Minz, who is currently the Vice Chancellor of Sodo Kanu Murmu University, Dumka. Sona has been a faculty member of JNU for the past 30 years and is currently professor at the School of Computer and Systems Sciences. Her research has engaged with geospatial informatics, spatio-temporal data analysis, data mining, and machine learning. Sona is a vocal and effective supporter of social justice and Dalit and Adivasi rights, and has been very responsive to issues posed by access to education to forging egalitarian futures. The third member is Dr. Harish Wankhede, who also really needs no introduction. He teaches at the Center for Political Studies here in JNU, and his areas of teaching and research are political theory, public institutions, secularism, and social justice, as well as cinema. He has contributed extensively on reading culture through Ambedkarite lens in journals and academic forums. And just to mention a few of them, they include Understanding the Dalits, Critique of Anna Hazare Movement, Secular State in India, a Modernist Dalit Perspective, etc., etc. The list is long. So in 2013-14, Dr. Wankhede was awarded the Raman Fellowship for postdoctoral research at the Stanford University, and where he collaborated with the Center for South Asia in consultation with Professor Blom for the postdoctoral project. I think being a public intellectual, I know that many of you are followers of what he writes in newspapers and other social media platforms. So I have introduced the three speakers, and I just want to start off by sort of laying out a few ideas, and I would ask the speakers to give their comments on that. And the first issue I would like to broach with the panelists is regarding the affirmative action that JNU has followed, and its history and functioning. Has it been satisfactory? Is there any quantitative data to show the inclusivity? What is the current system that is being followed? What more can be done with regard to affirmative action in India? Whereas has JNU failed with regard to affirmative action? So those are some of the broad questions that I would like them to talk about in the first instance, and then perhaps we can go to other rounds as well. So maybe Professor Sachidananda could start, and then I'll ask Harish to take over.